Today, we're going to break down something huge that's on the horizon for India's higher education system. I'm talking about the Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan Bill of 2025. Now, this isn't just some small update, it's a fundamental reimagining of how colleges and universities are managed, graded, and, well, pretty much everything else. So let's get into it and figure out what it all means.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why this is even happening. What's the problem they're trying to solve? Then we'll introduce the new boss, this new apex authority, and the 3 councils that will do the heavy lifting. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the rules, the punishments, and which old school bodies are getting the boot. And we'll wrap up by asking the big question, what's the end goal of all this? All right, first things first, why the massive shakeup? Before we can really understand the solution, we have to get a handle on just how big the problem is.
So what's actually broken? Why are we talking about the biggest reform in generations? Well, the whole story really starts with the sheer numbers. Just look at this scale, it's absolutely staggering. We're talking about a system that has to manage over 1,000 universities and a whopping 60,000 institutions. Frankly, the framework we have now was built for a different era, and it is just creaking under the weight of this enormous, complicated network.
And that massive growth has led to some major headaches. Right now, institutions are caught in this tangled web of different regulators. You've got the UGC, you've got the AICTE, and so on. It creates a mess of overregulation, people doing the same job twice, and totally different approval processes that can just choke the life out of new ideas. And that brings us to the big idea driving all of this. This whole bill comes straight from the National Education Policy of 2020. Its vision was for something it called a light but tight framework. The goal? Less red tape, but at the same time, stronger rules and a laser focus on quality.
Okay, so how exactly does the bill plan to pull off this light but tight vision? Well, the answer is to create a single, powerful, new authority. Let's meet the star of the show. Right at the very top of this new system is the Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan. We're just going to call it the Commission, to keep things simple. Now, this isn't just another regulator getting involved in the day-to-day. Its job is to be the big picture thinker, the strategist, setting the grand vision for where higher education in India is headed. So the Commission has this broad, forward-looking job. It's supposed to help turn our colleges into hubs for all kinds of different subjects, make India a go-to spot for international students, and weave traditional Indian knowledge into the mainstream. But really, its most important job is to be the conductor of the orchestra, making sure the 3 councils working underneath it are all playing from the same sheet of music. And here's what that orchestra looks like. It's built on a really clear idea. Separate the powers. You've got the commission at the top, setting the vision. And then you have 3 distinct pillars, each with one specific job. One for regulation, one for accreditation, and one for setting standards. This clean structure is at the absolute heart of the reform. So let's pop the hood and take a closer look at the engine room of this new system, these 3 specialized councils. First up, we have the Vinyaman Parishad, also known as the Regulatory Council. Think of this as the new sheriff in town. It's going to be the single common regulator for pretty much all of higher education, replacing that whole confusing mix of bodies we have today. Its main job? Making sure everyone plays by the rules. And its duties are all about transparency and being fair. Institutions are going to have to open up their books and show everyone their finances and how their students are doing. The council is also there to stop education from becoming just a business, give students a real way to get their problems solved, and, this is a big one, give more freedom to the institutions that are actually doing a good job. Next, we've got the Gunvata Parishad, the Accreditation Council. This council's whole reason for being is quality. It's not going to do all the grading itself. Instead, it's going to manage a whole network of independent agencies that will do the assessments. Now, this is a really big deal. There's a major shift here to what's called an outcome-based system. That means we're going to care less about things like how big the campus is and a lot more about what students are actually learning. This council will approve the grading agencies, make sure all their reports are public, and use tech to keep the whole process honest and smooth. And the third pillar is the Manak Parishad, or the Standards Council. So if the Regulatory Council is the referee and the Accreditation Council is the quality inspector, then this is the council that actually writes the academic rulebook. This council gets to define what a graduate from any course should actually know and be able to do. They call these graduate attributes.
It'll also set up a system for credit transfers to make it easier for students to move between colleges, decide the minimum requirements for starting a new institution, and strike that tricky balance between being world-class and celebrating our own Indian knowledge systems.
Okay, now we get to the part with teeth, because a new system is great, but it's only as good as its enforcement. So let's talk about the real-world impact. What really changes, and what happens when you break the rules?
First off, the change is a total sweep. We're not just adding another layer. 3 massive, long-standing bodies, the UGC, the AICTE, and the NCTE, are all slated to be dissolved. Gone. And in their place, you get this new 4-part structure. It's a complete replacement of the old guard. And this new system is not messing around. For example, if someone tries to start a university or a college without getting the proper approval, the penalty starts at a minimum of 2 crore rupees. That's on top of being shut down immediately. The message couldn't be clearer. Fly-by-night operations are not welcome. And for other violations, there's a very clear 3 strikes and you're out kind of system. The first time you mess up, you get a notice and a fine of at least 10 lakh. Do it again, and that fine jumps to 30 lakh, and people could start losing their jobs. If you still don't get the message, the penalty climbs to at least 75 lakh, and they can recommend shutting your institution down for good. So when you put it all together, the new structure, the new rules, the new penalties, what's the endgame here? What is this all supposed to achieve? In a nutshell, this is the dream. The whole point is to build a system that's open and honest, that focuses on what students actually learn, and that trusts good institutions with more freedom while making sure they're run properly. It's about creating a culture of excellence, not just a culture of checking boxes. Which leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? The plan is ambitious, and the goals are certainly noble. But will this new framework, if it becomes law, really be the thing that transforms India's massive higher education sector into a system that's more independent, more creative, and truly world-class? Well, that's a story that only time will tell.